Our story opens with Alec fishing calmly without bait. Suddenly, a stranger walks up and asks if he would like to learn the art of magic. Their lessons begin immediately. Alec succeeds in conjuring fire, but controlling it is hard. His mentor Eldaz steps in, instructing him on how to properly focus his mind for better aim. Eldaz tells him to imagine hitting the target, and to picture the many friends he will have. Eventually, those companions will face danger, and Alec will need to step in to protect them with his magic. This idea works because Alec deeply desires to shield his loved ones. Eldaz instructs him to hold that feeling while inhaling deeply. Eldaz tells him to let the spell fly. Alec launches 2 fireballs successfully. He grins with pure joy, and Eldaz praises him for making such rapid progress. Alec admits mastering it was hard and took all day. Eldaz reminds him that ordinary people usually need a full month to reach that level. Alec wants to learn more, but Eldaz stops him, knowing that pushing too hard could ruin the training. To relax, Eldaz suggests they go fishing once more. Alec complains that fishing is boring compared to magic, but Eldaz tries to ground his eager student. Eldaz tells Alec he is a gifted mage. He believes Alec will become an exceptional mage, just like a river flowing freely without any resistance. Eldaz says destiny guides him. This makes Alec wonder why Eldaz bothered teaching him in the first place. Eldaz hesitates, but he catches a fish just in time. Despite his magic skills, he is terrible at fishing. It is funny, so Alec steps in to help reel it in. They share a laugh before finally calling it a day. The next morning, Alec resumes his magic training. The new formula is tougher, but Eldaz encourages him, saying he is truly capable. Days go by with Alec learning a fresh spell every day. Yet, it is not all study. One day, they have a fun snowball fight powered by their magic. Peace cannot last forever. Eventually, Eldaz reveals he must leave the capital very soon now. Alec is crushed, knowing they will likely never ever meet again. Eldaz feels the same, but he still has crucial advice to give. He warns Alec to refuse if he is ever asked to join the Imperial Court team. Alec is confused, but he asks why Eldaz taught him magic in the very first place. Eldaz hesitates, showing emotion on his face. He smiles gently, saying Alec's mother helped him long ago, back when she was still with us. These become his final words, leaving Alec standing there in total silent shock. Years later, Alec is an adult attending the Royal Academy of Magic now. He never forgot his teacher, so he investigates for answers. He finds that Eldaz graduated top of his class. He became a court mage, but was later exiled mysteriously. Alec realizes this exile caused the sadness he always saw in his teacher's eyes. Alec makes a bold and daring decision. He plans to reform the Imperial Court to repay the debt he owes Eldaz. Alec vows to make a change by becoming a court magician himself. Time passes, and Alec achieves his main goal. He serves as a mage, but Prince Regulus suddenly announces that he is being fired. Regulus asks if Alec truly understands his own duties. Alec says his role is assisting the prince with magic, but Regulus clearly expected something far different. He asks if Alec fulfilled that role during the last mission. Alec remains completely silent. The prince explains he leads from the front, and Ix blocks attacks as the shield bearer, because those are their strictly defined roles. Lenny uses fire spells to push back monsters, because that is her job. Regulus says this is not enough for a titled court magician. He questions if the title is for show. Alec admits sticking to support magic, but insists there is a valid reason for it. Regulus refuses to hear his side. He interrupts, telling Alec to admit he only knows basic support spells. He calls him pitiful for pretending otherwise. The others join in too. Lenny mocks him for warning them against going deep into the dungeon. She thinks he is just scared. Alec is stunned, but Lenny says she was only staying quiet out of pure politeness until now. The king assigned him, but they have reached their limit. They will not hold back anymore. They are tired of dragging Alec along while tackling dangerous dungeon levels. Regulus heard Alec was top of his class, but claims it is clear he is incapable of doing anything without their help. Alec begs to explain, but Regulus suddenly notices a weapon at Alec's side. Seeing the dagger makes the prince furious. He grabs it, reminding him that he forbade commoners from ever engaging in armed combat. Alec explains he brought it for the next floor, but Regulus refuses to listen to any of his excuses. He shouts that no one acts independently. He says this is why he opposed having a commoner join, and he regrets not fighting against the decision much harder back then. Regulus grabs Alec, tears the robe off his back, and tells him he is unworthy of wearing it. Done arguing, Regulus declares there is no place for Alec on the team. He orders him to leave, and Alec stands there frozen in shock. Later, Alec studies hard, determined to learn everything about the dungeon layout. He reads multiple books at once with magic, analyzing floor layouts and data with very intense focus. He compiles a detailed report on the 30th level, concluding that Regulus's team lacks the magical power to survive it. His findings are based on monster strength and terrain. Considering failure rates and their current setup, the outlook is grim. Alec is certain they will die. Alec regrets the outcome. He tried to help, but failed to earn the prince's trust in the end. Just as he gives up, Alec realizes one final option remains. Knowing Regulus will ignore him, he decides to visit the king directly. However, the guards deny him entry because he is no longer a mage. Ordinary citizens are not permitted inside without strict official permission. Alec refuses to leave, insisting his information is too vital to be ignored now. Suddenly, Lenny appears to remind Alec that he has been fired. She sneers that he is finished. Calling him a commoner, she mentions hearing stories about his brilliance back at the Royal Magic Academy. Seeing him now, she assumes those stories were lies. One rumor claimed Alec broke records in the dungeon. No one had passed floor 30 before then. Allegedly, Alec reached floor 68. Lenny doubted that tale, and now she feels proven right. Alec ignores her insults and remains silent, focused on delivering his urgent message directly to the king. He reminds her that the king assigned him, meaning the king must have trusted his abilities. His message saves the prince, and Alec believes the king will listen if he gets the chance. Lenny takes the letter, only to rip it into pieces in front of him. She is done listening to a commoner and orders the guards to throw him out. Later, Alec reflects on the 4 years since graduation. He tells himself he genuinely tried his best as a mage. However, he feels like a failure and owes Eldis an apology. He failed to reform the imperial court as he promised. Suddenly, a voice calls out. Alec turns to see Yorha, a friend from his past. It has been 4 years, but she immediately notices something is wrong. Alec apologizes for the gloom, and Yorha vents her frustration regarding the kingdom. She hates how it clings to outdated ideas about noble bloodlines and strict social classes. She hates that discrimination persists, though she is obviously upset about the pain he suffered. She also admits she is slightly happy. She reminds him of a past promise. She vowed to recruit him one day, which is why she came here. Now is her chance. Yorha asks if he wants to explore dungeons. She wants him back with the old crew, saying she genuinely needs his power by her side. Alec is surprised, because this is the opposite of how Regulus's group treated him. Cast aside as useless, Alec had carried a heavy burden of failure and insecurity. Thankfully, Yorha ignores all of those doubts completely. She sees through his insecurity and reminds him of his true greatness. Would you like me to continue with part 2? She needs him and no one else. Her words impact him deeply, and then she reveals a secret. Her party promised this. They would return for him. She avoids pressuring him, yet her honesty has already convinced him to join. Alec accepts the offer, and Yorha welcomes him back to the team. While traveling, Alec recalls a memory of Eldis warning him against joining the royal court. Yorha checks his condition. Alec simply replies that his former teacher was actually right about a certain matter. At the castle, Regulus learns Alec left to become an adventurer again, prompting the team to cruelly ridicule their ex-teammate. The academy praised Alec as a genius, so Regulus was curious to see if the hype was actually true. After fighting together, Regulus decided he was just a weak and cowardly failure. Lenny expresses relief that they are finally free of that worthless peasant. They recruited Vogan, a talented noble, to replace him. As a highborn mage, he will surely contribute much more than Alec ever did to the squad. Lenny claims they will conquer the dungeon faster than ever. She claims Regulus will become a legend, and they all laugh very cruelly together. Meanwhile, our hero reaches Fizzle, a city famous for dungeons. Yorha enjoys this place because it completely lacks the kingdom's prejudice and strict social classes. It has served as their base for years. Before exploring, Alec must first sign up officially as an adventurer. Registration is simple, but a fresh problem suddenly appears. In this city, going beyond floor 30 requires a permit, which is only given after maintaining guild membership for 2 full years. Since Alec is new, he fails to qualify, forcing them to wait 2 years. While taking a short break, Yorha explains that her group has already cleared the way down to the 52nd dungeon floor. She wants him to join them. However, waiting 2 years is simply impossible. Rather than worrying, Yorha decides to focus on their current available options. She notes that upper floors need no permits, offering them plenty of space to train and improve together. As adventurers in a dungeon city, they have many options. Opportunities are truly everywhere for them. Soon, they are fighting fierce monsters on the 2nd dungeon floor. Yorha buffs Alec with magic, and he swiftly slices through the giant wasps surrounding them. However, Yorha suddenly senses something wrong. This trip was supposed to be easy. Something feels wrong, she blinks. She doubts her vision as the insect swarm multiplies rapidly around them. Alec confirms the threat is real. The bugs are enraged, and he deduces that someone must have disturbed their nest. Yorha creates a magic shield to attract the swarm's focus. Alec warns her against rushing forward. She surprises him by claiming she is fine. Typically, Alec could defeat these alone, but Yorha notices he is not fighting at his best. She senses his hesitation and burdens, so she insists on handling the fight by herself. It's hard. However, she declares that supporting a friend is a teammate's duty. Her statement resonates, awakening something within Alec. He recalls that he left the court. He's an adventurer, just as Elda's taught. He remembers that true magic exists to protect precious things. Alec tightens his grip, deciding to finally unleash his power. He casts an attack spell, firing energy blasts that shred through the nearby wasps. More monsters attack, but Yorha feels confident now that the real Alec is finally fighting. She creates a barrier for his cover. Like in the past, Alec casts a spell, summoning lightning bolts that destroy every single wasp in the swarm. Yorha celebrates, but her joy vanishes when the ground cracks, and a giant worm erupts from the earth. Alec realizes this creature caused the swarm's panic, but there is no time. The beast attacks, trapping Yorha, but Alec is already formulating a strategy. He selects the right spell, but pauses briefly. Mistakes could hurt her. He shouts to Yorha, recalling that she mastered the strongest defensive shields at the academy. Their rhythm is perfect, so Yorha immediately understands exactly what he is planning. She smiles and shouts back, reminding him that he had the most powerful attack magic in school. Trusting her completely, Alec releases his full hidden strength. He invokes Sacrifice Blaze, firing a massive stream of burning fire that completely swallows the giant worm. Yorha hides behind her shield as the fire destroys the enemy. When smoke fades, they stand victorious among the debris. Alec expresses his trust in her, and Yorha smiles, calling him the strongest mage she has ever met. The story flashes back to memory from school. Their group is fighting a furious dragon, a beast strong enough to use 5 elements consecutively. The battle looks bad, and Yorha is exhausted from defending them, just as the monster prepares to kill them all. Alec interferes and destroys the dragon with 1 hit. That event became a legend. The day his team cleared floor 68 of the dungeon. Confirming the legend, the group celebrated wildly, promising to remain united regardless of what the uncertain future held for them. We return to the time before graduation, when Alec belonged to an elite student group admired by everyone. The team included Ornest, a talented fighter, and Krasha, a clever healer. Yorha, the support expert, and Alec, the strongest offensive mage, gathered together on their big graduation day. They had just broken the school's dungeon record by reaching the 68th floor, earning them the highest honors and fame throughout the entire academy. While walking back and discussing their future plans together, Alec stopped and announced he would not join them, as he had chosen to serve as a court magician instead. The team was disappointed, especially Ornest, who believed that with Alec, they could have created the greatest adventuring party in the world. However, he respected the decision, trusting Alec's personal reasons completely. Before leaving, Yorha made it very clear she would not give up. She vowed to be waiting to recruit him whenever he became available again. Back in the present, Yorha happily welcomes Alec to the team. To celebrate, she buys him dinner, but she cannot handle liquor. After just 1 beer, she is already slurring her words and struggling to stay upright. She passes out quickly, prompting Alec to cover her with his jacket to keep her entirely warm. A stranger appears, remarking on Alec's kindness. Alec assumes the man is just a random drunk trying to start trouble in the bar. Alec ignores him and turns around, but the man gets annoyed and swings a bottle at Alec's head. The bottle breaks, but Alec had already cast a shield, easily blocking the sudden attack. He readies a counter, but the stranger names him, confirms the rumors, and slides a dungeon permit directly across the table. He offers the permit as an apology for his rudeness. Alec is annoyed, but also feeling more confused than before. He does not know this man. Suddenly, Yorha wakes up groggily and asks why the guildmaster is standing right there. Alec freezes, realizing the stranger is actually the true leader of the guild. The master explains he wants to witness the former court mage's power, inviting him to the training grounds for a proper demonstration of skill. They arrive at the testing room, where the man formally introduces himself to Alec as Level Stan. Alec remembers stories about Level, who was formerly a member of an elite S-rank adventure party. Alec realizes this battle will be difficult. However, he is excited, seeing this as a great chance to train before entering a real dungeon. The duel begins, and Alec fires a thunderbolt, but Level dodges instantly and counters with a sharp water blade. Alec realizes ranged spells are ineffective here, so he must close the distance to have any chance of winning. Before he can approach, Level uses enhancement magic, drastically increasing both his physical speed and power. He moves so quickly that Alec can barely track him, and when Level finally strikes, Alec casts a shield just in time, but the force still knocks him hard into the wall. Yorha flinches with worry, but Alec stands up quickly, assuring the group he is okay. He admits the speed surprised him. Having seen it now, he begins planning a way to counter movement. He smiles, remembering that serving the prince meant he was strictly banned from taking initiative during their battles. As an adventurer, he is free from those rules. No longer limited to support, he channels powerful magic into his wooden staff. Alec transforms the energy into a blade and rushes at Level. Level responds with a water slash, but Alec cuts it down easily, closing the gap immediately. Level is impressed, but doubts Alec can handle a direct physical fistfight. He strengthens his body further and rushes at Alec again. However, Alec is ready now. As Level strikes, Alec triggers a hidden thunderbolt right in his face, stunning him long enough to land a clean, direct hit with his blade. Level stumbles backward, genuinely shocked that Alec managed to break through his strong defenses. He now sees why Yorha praises him, but the difficult test is not over. Smirking, Level triggers an ancient artifact, summoning massive glowing gauntlets on his arms. One heavy swing slams the floor, leaving a truly massive crater in the solid ground behind. Alec realizes that taking one hit would be fatal, so he must proceed with extreme caution. Refusing to retreat, he fires another thunderbolt, but this time the lightning barely slows Level down at all. The active artifact has a secondary effect. It slowly heals his wounds. If the battle drags on, Alec's chances of winning will quickly vanish. Knowing he must halt the healing, Alec keeps up pressure, launching many rapid strikes. However, Level moves far too precisely, so none of the hits land. Frustrated, Alec mocks him, asking if he is afraid to fight directly. The taunt works. Level swings wildly, losing accuracy and creating a brief opening for Alec to slash him across the stomach. Alec finally lands a solid blow, but he knows defeating Level will require much more effort. Level rushes in. Alec creates a barrier, but the punch shatters the shield completely upon impact. However, the collision slows Level, allowing Alec to land a magic strike directly on his chest. Refusing defeat, Level slams his fists down, creating a massive hammer blow that covers the arena in a heavy dust cloud. Yorha fears Level is going too far, believing the hit crushed Alec. Suddenly, Alec appears behind Level, landing one final strike before his wand snaps and he collapses unconscious onto the hard ground. Yorha rushes to him. Level admits he overdid it and declares Alec the winner. While Yorha heals Alec, Ornest arrives, bored of waiting, and is shocked to discover that Alec actually fought Level. He criticizes Level for using his strongest weapon. Level explains the fight got intense, causing him to lose control, but now he has certainly seen enough. Convinced of Alec's readiness, Level hands over the official dungeon permit now. The test was totally unexpected. Yet Ornest congratulates him for passing it. Since Alec is unconscious, they carry him to a couch to rest. Everyone knows his history as a court mage. The fact that he endured it for so long is truly incredible. The palace was full of nobles who hated commoners. Alec must have fought desperately just to maintain his position there for that long. Suddenly, the receptionist bursts into the room, urgently calling the master with bad news. Level says he must handle this immediately, asking them to stay and watch over Alec while he is away. Before leaving, he warns them to stay away from his alcohol collection, specifically the rare bottles. Once he leaves, Ornest walks to the shelf and grabs the most expensive bottle he finds, grinning because he wants to annoy Level with it later. Becoming serious, he asks Yorha to explain the full story of Alec's court service. He only knew vague rumors before, but the truth leaves him stunned. Alec protected the prince, but was forbidden from carrying swords or using magic that might make the royal leader look weak. He carried supplies. Worse, after forbidding attack magic, the prince had the audacity to call him useless for relying on the very support spells he was explicitly assigned to use during missions. Ornest is confused, because he always believed that Alec specialized in strong offensive magic. Yorha confirms it is true. Alec learned support spells, specifically to keep the prince happy and satisfied with him. Hearing that he worked against his nature makes Ornest furious. The abuse was worse than expected. Just then, Alec begins to slowly wake up. Ornest immediately suggests forgetting the dungeon to go teach that spoiled prince a truly painful lesson. But Alec, still quite tired, calmly says to drop it. He admits it hurts, but he does not want revenge. Ornest offers to beat him up, but Alec chuckles and touches his shoulder gently. He says it is unnecessary because he is finally free and with trusted friends. That matters most. Besides, without cover for his failures, karma will surely catch up to the prince soon. Ornest gets an idea, suggesting they focus on becoming the world's greatest adventuring party together now. Once rumors reach the capital, the prince will realize what he foolishly threw away. Then Alec can look him in the eye and say whatever he wants. Alec really likes that plan. They fist bump, vowing together to become the strongest party ever known. Elsewhere, an injured adventurer from an S-rank party is treated while reporting her failed mission to the guild master's office. Krista explains that the mission went completely wrong and failed. It just failed. Her teammates remain trapped inside, so she begs Level to assemble a rescue team immediately now. Level calls an emergency meeting, but due to the timing, only adventurers currently present in the guild hall can actually attend. He announces they must form a squad to rescue Krista's team, who are stranded way down on the 64th dungeon floor. Tension rises as they exchange glances, knowing just how dangerous that specific floor truly is for them. Meanwhile, Alec is sitting alone waiting inside Level's private office room. Crasha finds him there, surprised that he is all alone. She asks how he is doing, though his many bruises and cuts make the answer quite obvious to her. She asks about the meeting. Alec says he avoided intruding there. Since everyone there is a rank, he feels completely out of place. Silently, Crasha raises her hand and casts healing magic to fix all his injuries. She gently reminds him that nobody in the guild considers him an outsider. At court, Alec learned to stay silent and invisible to avoid offending the many arrogant nobles always around him. Even now, he struggles to break those old habits completely. Crasha sees his burden. She pats his head softly, promising she is available if he needs to talk. This small kindness lifts his spirits far more than he ever expected. Ornest and Yorha return very shortly after. Excited, Ornest tells Alec they have the perfect chance to explore the dungeon now. He explains the rescue mission, noting the area is nicknamed the notorious Tank Killer. It is called that because healing magic is completely disabled. Recovery requires potions, making survival much more difficult in there now. Alec is surprised Crasha actually agreed to this. Since she relies on healing, he is shocked. She admits she genuinely hates it. She despises that dangerous location entirely now. She agreed only because Ornest insisted it was the perfect first mission for them. Alec worries he is too weak, but Yorha stops that thought immediately today. She says he is the key element. Their strategy relies on his magic. Without him, they have absolutely zero chance there. They approach the dungeon gate. Ornest steps forward with his usual confidence, declaring that their legend begins right here. Then, the group starts carefully planning their next moves. This dungeon has a rare aura that completely neutralizes all healing magic spells there. Inside, recovery magic fails, meaning only potions and speed can keep them alive against any threats. Their goal is the 64th floor, where Krista's guildmates are trapped. However, reaching them is extremely difficult because they must fight through every floor and defeat every single guardian boss guarding the entire path down. Ornest realizes that clearing every single floor will take far too much time now. Then, Yorha reveals a shining magic crystal. Krista gave it to them. This item lets them skip levels and teleport directly down to floor 64. Alec knows this artifact is incredibly rare. Yorha explains that Krista handed it over without hesitation because saving her teammates is her only priority, regardless of the heavy cost involved. Yorha adds that the boss is reportedly undead, meaning Crasha's light-based healing magic will be useless for this specific tough battle. Since Yorha is support, Alec must carry the heavy burden of fighting. Ornest tells Alec to save his mana very carefully now. Would you like me to continue? He offers to fight weak enemies, so Alec conserves energy for the boss. Crasha agrees, warning them to prepare, as they are effectively fighting against death itself now. Even a veteran-ranked party was completely destroyed here. Instead of fear, Ornest grins with wild energy, feeling truly alive today. He shouts to the team, declaring their legendary story starts right now. Yorha throws the crystal high into the air. It shatters and activates, instantly warping them deep into the dungeon, arriving at level 64. They appear in a dark cave. Immediately, a massive group of armed skeletons rises from the ground to attack them now. Ornest does not pause. He draws his spear and charges forward, hitting the first wave with ruthless accuracy. He destroys the undead effortlessly, bragging that level 64 seems surprisingly easy so far given the dangerous reputation here. The team hangs back briefly to watch, as more skeletons crawl out from the shadows and begin their approach. Ornest remains calm as he slashes down everything moving near him. Yorha gets worried because he moved outside her spell range, so she runs forward while shouting for him to return to formation. Alec and Crasha follow her, whispering that Ornest will likely be fine. He wields the legendary piercing black spear, an indestructible weapon. It is sharp. It is razor-sharp and deadly effective in battle. It is the ideal weapon for a fighter using instinct. Alec asks if he needs help, but Ornest confidently claims this is child's play and continues destroying every enemy that dares to approach him now. Alec laughs and walks closely beside Crasha. Suddenly, he senses something strange directly behind him. Trusting his gut, he fires a bolt over his shoulder. When smoke fades, nothing is there. Even Crasha is confused, asking what just happened. Alec thought someone was behind him, but suggests it was false. Still anxious, he draws his sword and charges, slashing empty air ahead. His blade hits something invisible, which suddenly reveals itself to be a reaper. Ornest grins, noting Alec is sharp. He adds that he sensed the hidden enemy earlier, but could not handle it. The reaper attacks, pushing Alec back, but he recovers quickly, deflects the blow, and retreats towards Ornest for safety. Alec realizes Ornest trusted him completely to handle the rear. He trusted him to handle threats without looking back. Alec feels true camaraderie for the first time, and that realization gives him a surge of strength. He jumps up, swinging his enchanted sword, and delivers a clean, powerful strike that cuts the reaper and kills it. He turns to Yorha, asking if she knew too. She apologizes for keeping quiet, while Crasha jokes that he should blame Ornest since it was his idea all along. Alec smirks, telling Ornest he owes him. Ornest replies they will discuss favors only after they escape this dungeon alive. The four teammates regroup together, ready to face whatever comes next now. Alec and Ornest charge into the undead horde, slicing through skeletons in every direction, while Yorha provides magical support from the rear to assist them in battle. Ornest shows off, using flashy moves to eliminate every single skeleton in his path. Crasha supports calmly from afar, using accurate arrows to take down any enemies trying to flank his position now. Yorha usually stays back, but she is forced to defend herself with her staff as the endless skeletons approach. Seeing the horde is not stopping, Alec yells for them to retreat, shouting to finish it. Without hesitation, the party gathers behind him. Alec channels power, releasing a massive thunderbolt that covers the entire area in electricity, turning every single skeleton into a pile of ash in seconds. When safe, Ornest asks Alec why he only uses lightning, recalling that he used many different offensive elements back at the academy during training. Alec shrugs it off, claiming Thunderbolt is simply the fastest spell to cast, making it more efficient. Ornest looks unconvinced, but drops the subject, knowing there is no time to investigate while they are on a mission. Suddenly, a huge roar echoes from ahead, and they assume it must be coming from the boss room. Yorha casts reinforcement magic, and Ornest immediately blasts forward like a flash without hesitating. He runs incredibly fast right now. Alec is surprised, impressed by Ornest's explosive speed and the power of Yorha's boost. He and the girls waste no time following Ornest through the tunnel ahead. They enter a large chamber and see Ornest sitting casually on a ledge, watching as a huge monster chases a panicked adventurer in circles around the vast room below them. Alec prepares to help, but Ornest stops him, explaining that the running mage is Loki, a troublemaker from the Rechroma party they know well. Crasha agrees, adding that while Loki is annoying, he is also a clever support mage. Alec is confused as Loki screams for Ornest to do something, swearing to haunt him forever if he dies right there in the dungeon. Ornest ignores the threats, watching with a very bored expression. The situation worsens when Loki trips and falls, with the monster closing in on him very fast. Alec instinctively prepares to intervene, but Crasha stops him, explaining this is part of Loki's usual strategy now. Alec watches the monster approach Loki, but suddenly, a trap spell ignites beneath the creature, blasting it with hot molten lava. Alec is shocked, but Crasha smirks, repeating that Loki is defined by his unique craftiness. The beast stumbles back, triggering another trap that sets off a chain of explosions. Loki stands up and mocks the creature, laughing and claiming only a fool would trip in a trap zone. His arrogance backfires when the monster roars in rage and charges a devastating magic blast aimed at him. Loki's bravery vanishes as death approaches. He closes his eyes, bracing for the end, but Ornest saves him at the last second, leaving Loki stunned that he is still alive. Alec and the girls descend to join the battle. The monster redirects its anger, attacking Alec, but Yorha casts a shield in time to block the massive strike safely. Alec prepares thunder magic, but the beast twists around and charges straight for Ornest and Loki instead of fighting him. Alec shouts a warning to alert Ornest about the danger. As the dust settles, he realizes the attack was not strong enough to kill. Ornest sees the creature closing in, so he charges straight at it, slipping between its legs in a single swift motion. He throws Loki toward Crasha, who lands on the ground. However, Loki interrupts to thank Alec, revealing he already knows his secret identity as the former court magician. Alec replies he left the court. Loki says the prince made a huge mistake by letting him go. Then he drops a bombshell. That monster was not actually the boss. It was simply a wandering sub-boss that had accidentally separated from the main group. This revelation shocks everyone. They wonder how strong the true boss is if a subordinate nearly defeated them. Loki explains the true guardian is a necromancer in black armor, disguised as a dark knight. He warns that standard physical attacks are weak and only useful for stalling. Turning to Alec, Loki hands him a magic wand topped with a cross. Alec recognizes the item immediately, as Loki confirms it is a long-lost ancient artifact. When Alec grips it, the wand transforms into a sword. Ornest is suspicious, asking why Loki is giving away such a valuable treasure. Loki laughs, admitting he plans to use Alec as bait on the front. The group stares at him, wondering if he is joking. Loki explains that Alec appears physically weak, looking like an easy target. Placing him in front will lure the boss closer. This allows a coordinated ambush, ensuring they win and gain the glory of slaying an S-rank boss. Elsewhere, the prince's team flees through another dungeon, chased by two massive, angry caterpillars. The prince is confused by the disaster. He cannot understand why everything is failing, since he never struggled with these monsters in the past. He quickly orders Lenny to destroy them with magic. She tries, but nothing happens at all. Her spells simply fail to activate. Annoyed, the prince calls her useless and decides to handle the threat personally. However, when he strikes, his sword bounces harmlessly off the monster's skin. He finally realizes something is terribly wrong, just before he takes a direct hit. Lenny and Ix grab the fallen prince and run toward the exit to escape. While retreating, the prince tries to understand exactly what went wrong today. His attacks used to be powerful. Reflecting now, he realizes his strength declined immediately after he removed Alec from the group. Rather than admitting Alec was valuable, the The prince convinces himself that Alec must have cursed him out of spite after they left the dungeon. The prince visits a royal magician, Vogan Fornius, to check if he is currently under a curse. After a magical analysis, Vogan confirms that no such curse exists. The prince is stunned, insisting he would have cleared the floor easily unless Alec sabotaged him. Vogan, knowing about the anti-magic zone there, explains the prince felt weaker because his support magic was being suppressed. The prince scoffs, dismissing support magic as garbage that only weaklings like Alec need to rely on. Vogan tries to remain professional, even as the prince continues rambling with arrogance. Still, he finds it odd that Alec failed to warn the prince about the anti-magic field. Considering Alec is the student who reached the 68th floor, the prince laughs, claiming a pathetic commoner like Alec could never achieve that, calling it a rumored lie. Vogan stays silent because arguing with such delusion is pointless. A guard enters, informing the prince that the king wants to discuss Alec's situation immediately. The prince smiles, confident his father will agree with him. However, upon arrival, the king begins telling a story about Eldaz. He explains that Eldaz was a royal magician exiled years ago, describing him as a remarkable fool. Eldaz, a noble, boldly told the king that unless the treatment of commoners changed, a tragedy would befall the nation. The prince interrupts, saying Eldaz deserved banishment. But the king clarifies that Eldaz was not called a fool for his words. After losing his noble rank, Eldaz enrolled at the academy. There, he silenced critics with talent and graduated as valedictorian. Despite his fame, he chose to return to the castle. He served as a court magician again, persisting in his message. He urged the king to see commoners as equals until one day, Eldaz mysteriously vanished. The king dismissed those warnings back then, but recently, he has begun to wonder if the man was actually right. That doubt is why he ordered the prince to enter the dungeon, to test if nobility truly makes one superior. Based on the prince's failure, the king admits he may have been mistaken. He declares it is time to abolish discrimination. He intends to hire based on talent, regardless of family lineage. The prince is shocked, arguing that treating commoners as equals would ruin their reputation. The king acknowledges he raised the prince with those beliefs, but insists times have changed. The prince protests, claiming that associating with commoners like Alec brings disaster, citing his own failure as proof. Before he can continue, a guard hands Regulus the torn remains of a note written by Alec. The king explains that Alec had prepared a detailed guide to help Regulus navigate the dungeon safely, but it was destroyed by Lenny before the prince ever had a chance to read it. Regulus is stunned. Overwhelmed, he tells his father he feels unwell and excuses himself from the room. As Regulus leaves, the king asks Vogan for a favor. He requests that Vogan support Regulus to the best of his ability, despite the difficulties involved. Vogan nods, assuring the king he will do everything within his power. Meanwhile, Regulus suffers a mental breakdown. If Alec was truly talented, it means Regulus himself was the problem, and he cannot accept that reality. Back in the dungeon, Alec asks Loki why he should not use magic against the upcoming boss. Alec knows the sword is powerful, but since the boss is immune to physical damage, he doubts the blade will work. Loki clarifies he never intended for Alec to defeat it with the sword. He just wants Alec to act like a warrior to stop the boss from anticipating magical attack. The group understands the plan, but Crasha is confused about why deception is necessary. Loki explains that this boss possesses intelligence equal to their own. Alec is skeptical, and Loki understands. Still, he asks Alec to rely on the blade. He agrees to follow the plan until the signal is given. Loki turns to Crasha, requesting her assistance for a specific task. Since walking takes too long, he intends to use teleportation magic. Lacking the mana to cast it alone, he needs her support to complete the ritual properly. The group panics because teleportation is a guarded national secret, and knowing it puts them at serious risk. Given the emergency, they decide to take the risk. They joke that if it goes wrong, they will just blame Loki. As Loki draws the circle and guides Crasha through the process, Alec pulls Yorha aside, asking if Loki is someone he can truly trust. Yorha admits she personally dislikes Loki's attitude, but for serious matters, he is absolutely dependable. She tells Alec that 2 years ago, Loki led a large raid without a single casualty due to his exceptional planning. Hearing this, Alec decides to fully trust Loki's strategy. Once the circle is finished, The group gathers together inside it. Yorha is amazed to witness real teleportation magic for the first time. Loki clarifies this is a simplified variant, designed to transport them to his chosen destination. He gives the group a firm warning. They will arrive directly in front of the boss, so they must be ready to fight immediately. Loki activates the circle. They vanish instantly and reappear in front of Loki's team, who are fighting a dark knight. The allies held the creature off, but they inflicted little damage and are running out of stamina. Luckily, Ornest rushes in to cover their retreat. He engages the knight, drawing its attention. While the knight focuses on Ornest, Alec attempts a sneak attack, but the enemy reacts instantly, jumping to avoid the strike. The knight charges at Alec and Ornest, while Loki and Krasha help Ruel and Marble retreat to safety. The knight's armor is hollow, but Ornest attacks anyway. He pins the knight's cape to the floor with his spear. This creates a perfect opening, allowing Alec to sever the knight's head. As the helmet crashes down, Alec wonders if it is dead. But in battles like this, things are never that simple. The knight suddenly begins to move again. Grotesque tendrils burst from its neck, revealing it is actually a Dullahan. It becomes clear the creature they killed earlier was just its mount. Alec is distracted briefly by his thoughts. When he refocuses, the Dullahan is already airborne and descending toward him with a powerful attack. Alec raises his sword to block, barely withstanding the heavy blow. The monster is faster and stronger now, confirming it was holding back earlier. The fight will only get harder, but luckily, he does not have to face it alone. Yorha buffs Ornest continuously. Once fully charged, Ornest launches forward and lands a brutal hit on the knight. This gives Alec an opening to knock the creature back. Alec is amazed by the armor's durability. If his weapon were not an artifact, it would have shattered long ago. Even worse, since the opponent is undead, knocking it down is temporary. It will always rise again. The knight retrieves its head, reattaches it, and unleashes a deafening scream that disorients everyone on the battlefield. Immediately, it locks onto Alec and kicks him with full force, launching him backward at high speed. Fortunately, before he hits the wall, Yorha casts a barrier spell to cushion the impact. She checks on him, and Alec says he is okay. He had not expected such martial skill. Without Yorha's quick reaction, he might not have survived that blow. He asks Loki how much longer he must fight using only the sword. Loki, still preparing, tells Alec to hold out for 5 more minutes. That is difficult because Alec almost died, and he is running low on potions. Meanwhile, Ornest struggles to stand, shouting for Alec to get back into the fight. Together, they press on, engaging the knight until Loki's countdown finally ends. With his setup complete, Loki activates a massive magic circle and laughs to draw attention. The knight panics and charges at Loki, slashing him across the chest. But that was the plan. The Loki it struck was an illusion, and the spell circle was a decoy to lure the enemy into a trap. Ice crystallizes beneath the knight's feet, while the real Loki watches from a nearby tower. Ornest triggers a teleport trap, appearing behind the knight to strike and push it forward. Marbell leaps down from an arch, aiming a heavy slash. The knight dodges, but this too was anticipated. Loki had placed a hidden ice trap that slows the knight's movement speed upon contact. Realizing Loki is the mastermind, the knight climbs the tower. It intends to eliminate him directly. Loki draws a magic blade. Ruel is concerned because Loki lacks the power to fight the knight alone. Although Yorha buffed him earlier, the strain on his body is immense, and he is barely holding on. While Loki distracts it, Yorha casts a high-tier binding spell to restrain the knight. The spell works, but the knight lands a heavy hit on Loki, knocking him off the arch toward the ground. Even in freefall, Loki remains calm because everything is proceeding exactly as planned. He looks at Alec, smirks, and calls out that the stage is set for him to end the battle. That concludes this episode. Thank you for watching. If you want to see the next part, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell.